Hello, everybody, and welcome to Max Spoilers from MinMax. MinMax is a place about games, friends, getting better. Welcome. My name is Ben Hansen. Thank you for being here. I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hello. I was trying to remember some of the moves, like the Kamehameha we know, but what's Destructo Disc? Does he do
I think he just holds his hand above his head. Special beam cannon, very important.
Oh,
stuff.
That's a big one.
That's a huge one
in this movie in particular.
Okay, here we go. Spoilers, everybody. These are spoilers for Dragon Ball Super Super Hero. Don't be confused by that title. So Dragon Ball Super Hero is in theaters August 19th. I love it. I love that Dragon Ball movies are in theaters. We got a cool press screener advance, but a part of me was like, God, I wish I was watching this in a theater filled with Dragon Ball fans so you can hear that laughter. Because like, how often do you get to like celebrate Dragon Ball in a big group, you know?
Yeah, there was Battle of Gods. What was the second one?
Return of F, Resurrection F. Yeah, the Frieza
Resurrection
one.
F, you and me and my wife and some others saw in theaters. And It was like, honestly, like a top 10 movie going experience. Because it was just like, just specifically Dragon Ball people in the theater, and we were laughing at like very specific jokes. So yeah, I'm with you.
And then the Broly movie, I think I saw that in theaters as well. That was 2018. It was longer ago than I thought, but yeah, 4 years since the last Dragon Ball movie. And this is the confusing thing of like, you know, if you're coming in completely out of the blue, it can be confusing, right? But it's like, okay, Dragon Ball Z was followed up by Dragon Ball GT, and then followed up by Dragon Ball Super, which technically is happening before Dragon Ball GT, and technically even before the end of Dragon Ball Z, if you really want to zoom in and get geeky about this stuff.
It takes place between the penultimate and ultimate episode of Dragon Ball Z, right? Is kind of the
and it turns out everything in the world happens there. And so they started out with Akira Toriyama kind of outlining a new movie. Then Dragon Ball Super, the series, was an adaptation of that film. Then the second film was also turned into the series. And then the series continued, but then there's only been 4 movies, right? So it's, the gods, then Frieza, and then Broly, and then Superhero. And so Broly and Superhero have not been turned back into longer versions, longer seasons and sagas in the show. Right. So it's
they do acknowledge things from the late show.
Yes, they talk about Jiren in this, so like everything has happened in there. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you. We're glad you found us Dragon Ball nerds. We've been hiding in forums debating how strong Goku is.
Been lowering our power levels so you can't sense us.
That's right. Just like a couple of androids. Well, I guess I don't have to lower it. The point is, thank you for being here. If you appreciate this type of content, you can always subscribe to MinMax's YouTube channel. Or if you really appreciate it, you can unlock the podcast version of this discussion and a ton of other bonus content in MinMax's bonus podcast feed. You can more than double the amount of MinMax podcasts each and every week. And it's not through the Patreon app. It's right in your favorite podcast app. And all you have to do is go to patreon.com/MinMax with 2 N's, jump in at that $5 tier. Try it. You'll like it. It's like a sensu bean for your soul is what we like to say. So we appreciate the support, and any help supporting independent games being is appreciated. Kyle, Dragon Ball Superhero. We have not talked about it one iota. What did you think of this film?
I like it a lot. I really enjoyed it. If I want to rank the recent 4 movies,
yes,
I think Battle of Gods is still my favorite.
Yep, same here.
And then I think this one.
Yes, Kyle.
And then Frieza, and then Broly.
We are 100% on the same page. I am so with you. Yeah, I love this movie. And by the way, if we didn't hit it enough out of the top, there's going to be spoilers for this movie in this discussion, so you've been warned. Yes. I love this movie. Watched it by myself in my basement, yucking it up like a maniac. I'm a sucker for comedy, and I feel like that is the charm of the kind of the Dragon Ball Super era. It is just nailing every comedic moment, and it's exactly what I want from Dragon Ball. It's like, okay, I'm into the training, I'm into the power stuff. At a certain point, it's gone so off the rails. Now all I want is just good times with my old friends, and these movies have been all about it, you know? And like, Broly was maybe the most serious out of all the movies, and like, I really thought the art was interesting in the Broly movie, but like, I'm not one of those big Broly stans. Like, I know a lot of Dragon Ball fans are out there, so please forgive me. But this movie, it was, as it went on, it was like, God, why am I digging this so much? And maybe this is overly simplistic, but it's like, it's the fact that Goku and Vegeta are just basically out of the picture. They're with Beerus and Whis, having what we can only imagine is the greatest match of all time between Goku and Vegeta, where they can't transform, and could they even fly? I'm trying to remember what the rules were for their competition.
Oh, that's a good question.
I think they were flying. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this movie it gets very fight heavy during the last like quarter, right? Which is like pretty standard. But like it spends almost as much time of just like figuring out the weird family dynamics of this, like, of, you know, Piccolo, like, and his relationship with Gohan and Gohan's daughter and stuff. Like, it takes as much time on that as it does, you know, them discussing how to fight the new threat, which is great. Like, absolutely, that's what we want at this point as Dragon Ball fans.
I think so. I don't want to speak for all Dragon Ball fans, but that's what I want. Like, that's why I love Battle of the Gods. I mean, that first movie, it's just like, it is just... It feels like a slapstick comedy from like the 40s at times, just the big setup of like, don't anger Beerus, good. Like, I just love that super silly stuff. And this is such a specific, stupid note of just things that I love about the setup for this movie. But first of all, Gohan's my favorite Dragon Ball character, so I'm all in on him. So a movie basically about his relationship with Piccolo. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, just the moment when like Piccolo like puts Gohan's old training clothes on him, and it's like that weird thing of like, oh yeah, Piccolo can just conjure clothing. It's never really explained, but so much of this movie...
He also just only drinks water. He doesn't eat food, which is like something that I guess I knew at some point, but it's like played for a joke.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sort of like, I don't know, if you're watching this without planning to see the movie, maybe that's kind of a strange way to watch this video. But like the weird thing, the surprising thing to me about it is it's a Piccolo movie. It stars Piccolo. Goku and Vegeta's sequence could have literally been cut from the film if they wanted to save time. Like they acknowledge that they're off doing something. They explain why they're not available to fight the threat. And then the rest of the movie is like Piccolo figuring everything out, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and I love it's some good deep cut. Like the big central theme is kind of sort of dealing with Red Ribbon Army again. So if you're an old Dragon Ball fan, you should be completely on board for this. But if you're an old Dragon Ball fan, you probably are more attached to Piccolo. And the fact that it has so many specific callbacks, even to the old era of like, hey, Piccolo, spoilers everybody, in this movie they fight a basically King Kong / Godzilla version of Cell called Cell Max. And Cell Max is a place about games friends getting better. But so it's this giant version of Cell. And so at a certain point, I forget if it's Krillin or who says it, but they're like, hey, Piccolo, why don't you just make yourself big like you did in the old tournament in Dragon Ball? He's like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot I could do that. It's like, it is so cheeky and silly just for like these super deep callbacks. But then I love that it's silly and like, oh, I forgot I could get big like I did that one time in Dragon Ball. But then also follows it up where he's like, yeah, just so you know, for the inside scoop, that's basically just a trick. Like I had the same power level as before. It's kind of almost like an optical illusion. And like that is the beauty of Dragon Ball this era, is like respecting the past, being silly with the past, but also giving like really nerdy details where we want them. Like, I'm overwhelmed by little moments in this movie, but just like I remember Kyle watching, like old best friend Ronnie, we went over to your house and rewatched, I think, the first two Dragon Ball Super movies because he hadn't seen them before. And I remember like in that setting, it was amazing because it was like we were making jokes about the movie and then the movie would make the same joke milliseconds after we made it. And like when the movie comedically knows exactly where you're at and what you're thinking, it's just like chef's kiss for something as dorky as Dragon Ball.
100% my wife joked, you know, when Gohan lost his glasses and went Super Saiyan, and then it didn't seem like it mattered that he didn't have his glasses. She was like, oh, does going Super Saiyan fix his eyesight? And then like 20 minutes later, Piccolo asks Gohan, hey, does going Super Saiyan fix your eyesight?
Yeah, and I love it.
And he's like, oh yeah, I don't know.
And that delivery is so good where he's like, I don't get it. Like, so Super Saiyan means you don't need the glasses. It is just that it encapsulates everything that I love about this movie, is that little moment. But other little things that I was going to talk about earlier is just like, you know, the little moment where Piccolo just calls Bulma on the phone and she's just on the couch and I'm not being a creep. Just, hey, internet, not being a creep right now. Yep, that's how they all call each other in Dragon Ball, of course. But not in a creepy way, but like the animation on Bulma on that couch is just so fun and silly, where it's her just kind of like stretching and like repositioning and like relaxing as she's talking to Piccolo on the couch. And she's like, Piccolo, are these androids? Is this going to be a whole thing? And the Piccolo's like, oh yeah, I think it's going to be a thing. It's just,
he was right. Piccolo's always right.
By God, was he right?
I just love, because it starts with Piccolo training Pan, which is great. Pan's adorable and awesome. I love Pan. which is like an established character that I never really connected to, honestly, until this movie, because I never really watched GT. But like, I love Videl calling Piccolo saying, "Hey, I need you to pick up Pan from daycare," and he's like, "Why can't Gohan do it?" Because Gohan's going full Goku and totally focusing on his research paper, and neglecting his family. And Piccolo goes and like berates him about it. And he's like, Why don't you have time to pick up your kid from school? I mean, I'm going to go get her for you. I'll be your pal here, but like, you need to get your shit together. And I love that.
And genuinely, it was like the most emotional part of the movie then was when you saw, it lasted like 30 seconds, but it's Pan sitting outside the school waiting for somebody to pick her up, and no one's there to pick her up, and the teacher's like holding with her. It's somebody with a kid, Kyle. I mean, did that hit harder? Did you connect your daughter to Pan?
Yes. And then the sort of the guy coming to kidnap her, and she just totally wallops him. Like, it's like, one of my favorite things in Dragon Ball is like people not understanding how strong the Z fighters are,
right?
And just like having to deal with that. Like maybe my favorite sequences in the movie is Gohan learning Pan has been kidnapped, which is kind of orchestrated by Piccolo, sort of like
right.
It's all under control. She's not in any real danger, but Gohan thinks she's in danger, and he freaks out so much that he like ruins his house.
Yes.
And then he's like sitting in the plane with them to go get his daughter. And the second he sees her, he just ejects from the plane because he's like a superhero. And the plane blows up. And everyone's like, what? Who is this guy? They thought they were just dealing with some normal guy. It's so funny and cool.
Okay, so there's a lot of setup happening here that we should probably do. So Red Ribbon Army, it's around again. It's okay. Well,
pharmaceutical company.
That's right. Now it's a pharmaceutical company, and it's Magenta who's leading it. Which, do you know who voiced Magenta, by the way, Kyle?
Was it Nicolas Cage?
It was Nicolas Cage. Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario, was Magenta in this movie. Yeah, and so
the short little guy with the mustache who had to stand on platforms. That was Charles Martinet.
Oh yeah, I guess that is interesting. I didn't quite connect to it. They know the audience that they're dealing with, and so the idea is, hey, let's make more androids. Let's bring Red Ribbon Army back to what it was back in the glory days. Dr. Gero is quite dead, but turns out he had a grandson, of course, because it's Dragon Ball. Dr. Hedo, and he's this 24-year-old Pugsley Adams looking guy. But like even that dorky character, he loves. This is really the only thing that I wasn't a big fan of in this movie. Is just like, he's kind of an overweight guy, and believe it or not, he loves eating Oreos, and he'll do anything for a soda. It's like, okay, I feel like, have we not got this out of our system from anime in 1992, everybody? But okay, fat guys like food, got it. But just the intro even of Dr. Hedo, which it's an absurd premise, because like, he never even knew Dr. Gero, but he also is a genius because it runs in the family and he can design androids, and all he wants is to make an android superhero because he loves superheroes. But his intro is awesome, where he gets out of jail and then he just takes a grenade and like throws it in the jail behind him. It's like, greatest character intros. All I need now. I'm completely on your side, Dr. Hedo. I love it.
Yeah. And he's canonizing Android 21.
Yes.
Right.
This is the biggest thing. Yeah. So I should have read the recap, because I feel like we're more emotionally connected to Android 21 than most people, because we went on the cover story trip for Game Informer to visit Arc System Works. And this is all coming from Dragon Ball FighterZ, the fighting game. And the big thing for that game was like, we got a new character and it's Android 21. And I remember even asking them like, hey, could this ever work its way back into the show or anything? And they're like, we'll see. I don't know. And this is quite the tip of the cap, I feel like, to hardcore fans, that it's just like, it was breaking down the history of Dr. Gero and the androids. And in that screen presentation, they had Android 21, which I think is cool. To tip the cap. Yeah. Who knows if Toriyama really would even remember what Android 21 is or acknowledge it in any way, but like, it's cool to see them tying in the games for like this larger universe thing.
Yeah. And then as you're talking about like the Hedo introduction, where he Red Ribbon is trying to bring him on to make androids, I really liked that sequence where they're driving and just having a discussion, because it was an opportunity to sort of talk about the Z fighters from an outside perspective, which we don't get that much. And it's like them trying to figure out who they are and where they're from. They have this vague idea that they're aliens, and that they think Capsule Corp is built with alien technology. It's not, but like, it's fun to hear them try to figure it out. Yeah, totally. Because why would you ever focus on two characters who aren't the Z fighters in Dragon Ball? Has that ever really, I mean, I guess like Videl and
Satan, I guess, but like even they are basically Z fighters
at this point.
Yeah, but it is fascinating, like just to try and figure out, what do they know about the Z fighters? And it's like we kind of have some shaky cam footage somehow from the Cell fight, so we think that Gohan is still a huge threat. Goku and Vegeta don't seem to be here, but I guess they're aliens, and I guess Capsule Corp, and this is what I love too, is, I mean, the world of Dragon Ball is so silly, but they're like, what, you think Capsule Corp can come up with that technology on their own? That stuff is crazy advanced. There's like pills turning into cars and stuff. Of course it's alien technology, and it's like, oh yeah. I guess I just assumed that was commonplace in the world, but it turns out Bulma does seem wildly incongruous with the state of technology everywhere else. I loved, I thought that Dr. Hedo's little flying bee it would like poison you and you die and stuff. That was like his weapon, other than giving himself super skin and super armor. He made this little bee that'll fly around. I thought for sure that was going to tie in with the fact that Gohan was distracted and didn't want to pick up Pan because he's super into studying insects. I was like, okay, well, this is clearly where this is coming together. And it turns out, no, these are just two separate insect threads in this film, and never the twain shall meet.
Well, I guess Dr. Gero had insect robots, right, tracking Goku and stuff like that, but that didn't follow him to Namek, which was like the big plot point of the Android saga, is like they didn't know he went Super Saiyan. I thought it was like one of those, but I guess it's just this weird little invention from Dr. Hedo. That is, I didn't connect the Gohan thing, but that's a good point.
And I wonder too, like, was a part of that just that they wanted to use the insect because they wanted to show off or have a reason to show off the new technology? Because the big thing with this movie is that it's it's confusing. It's almost like Dragon Ball FighterZ, right? Where it's a 3D animation, but it looks 2D. And so they use that insect to great effect, even like the opening shot of like flying around and showing everybody from different angles. Even Pan at the end, it's like this great moment of her flying around and just showing off what Dragon Ball can look like in 3D. And it's not like the first time they were using computers, but it's very different from like Broly's art style here.
Yeah. So what did you think? Did you like it?
I liked, like, in the first fight scene, I think is really when it really popped. It's like, oh, this is opening up a whole new avenue just for the cinematography for the fight scenes in Dragon Ball. So that's exciting. I mean, having like Gohan like grab somebody's leg and the camera can like wrap around, it's liberating and kind of fun. There are moments where they're like still, where I'm so trained, I think, from video games, where I think like you can kind of see how it doesn't look like the cartoon, even something like Dragon Ball FighterZ, you know? And so there are moments when they're still and it's less action where it's like, ugh, I don't like that. Even though it looks like a 2D image, I can see why it's not. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I ultimately liked it. Like I was ready to kind of be like sort of an old man and be like, I want it to be 2D. But I think the big benefit is the consistency of action, like across the board, because lately they've been doing a lot of like hand-drawn animation, which looked great. Like Brawly looks really good. Like I like the 2D animation in Brawly, but then they would switch to 3D models like during the climax of fights. Right. It was always weird and distracting. And that's not the case here. It's like one consistent style, and I think it's good. I do like it. I ultimately like was happy with it and thought I like that it's like something new and different. I didn't find myself pining for the old style. No, I kind of like them both sort of standalone, I guess you could say. Yeah,
we have hundreds and hundreds of hours of that, and I'm sure there's going to be some hardcore fans that are upset about it, but I don't know. Teach their own. I'm interested in seeing that animation studio move forward, and I mean, I would love, maybe it exists somewhere, or maybe they're too guarded, but I would love just to see some behind the scenes stuff on how they did it and like the challenges of kind of adapting that style, because it is amazing. It doesn't really look, for most of it, like they are 3D models. It's just when that camera moves. And it's kind of like, how are they popping to make it look right? And the angles are all still correct. But then there's still, go ahead, go.
Oh, I was just going to say, weirdly, some characters looked better than others. Yeah. Like most Goku and Vegeta, I felt like didn't look great in 3D. And I don't know if maybe it's because they spent a little less time with them. Like they weren't a priority for the arc of the film. Right. Where like I feel like Piccolo and Gohan look really great. Yeah. It's weird, you know? Yeah. Also, I like just, so there's two new androids. We got Gamma #1 and Gamma #2. Basically Thing 1 and Thing 2 from Cat in the Hat. I like them. They're kind of sleek. It's kind of that Dragon Ball Super style, right? It's like his Toriyama's like when he does a character design lately.
Yeah,
they all feel kind of like him. Those two, the antagonist from Jump Force was like a Toriyama design.
Oh, really?
And then like the two new villains from Super, they all kind of they look kind of similar. Like he doesn't want to draw humans anymore. It seems like, except for Android 21. I guess Android 21 he designed as well. And that's like looks humanoid, but
yeah, the Boo form's kind of confusing. Yeah, or even like the God, forgive me for forgetting their name, but kind of the space cop guy too. It's kind of just like this sleek style overall, you know. But in Piccolo's first fight with, I forget if it's Gamma, I think it's Gamma 2 that he's fighting. I like there's that moment where it's very, you know, manga, it's very Batman 66, but there's that moment where Piccolo's like, why can I see his sound effects? Because like every time he's taking a punch, it's like bam, wha-bam, pow, and all this stuff. And like they don't really keep that up the rest of the, you know, film or anything, but I guess it's just kind of playing into that overall superhero theme, which they want to mess with, which I think it's funny. And like they didn't really hit on it, which is interesting for a movie that's so big on kind of jokey callbacks. But, you know, it's weird to have Gohan going up against a superhero. And you thought he would have a moment to be like, by the way, I'm really into superheroes too. I used to be one. You might be familiar with my work or anything.
I guess that would take him out of his like Piccolo gear, right? Which would, it's so fun to see him in that original gear that if he had changed into the Saiyaman, I'd kind of be like, yeah, I like the shoulder pads.
Right. Even if they make fun of him in the movie, I love him too. Yeah. Also on the superhero front, it's like, first of all, the soundtrack rules for this movie, and it's very like, you know, Avengers-esque soundtrack, but I do think it's really good. But then it is just shameless at the end when Gamma 2 dies, and he just turns to ash exactly like Infinity War. It's just like, oh yeah, you could not be more naked in your inspiration. But that's
they also basically have Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 with the to me the explicit purpose of like, wow, we can kill one. We want to have some stakes.
Right.
You know, but then we get to still keep the character. Even though they are distinct. Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 are very different in personality.
Yeah. I liked how little we got of Goku and Vegeta. I always want more Whis and Beerus. I freaking love those characters. I think they're so fun. Whis, like that voice actor is just so delightful. Like that moment where Beerus like he hires the new chef. So he fires Whis as his chef. And then Whis, the climax of the scene is just him going, I can't live on the streets. And then it just cuts to the next scene. It's like, it's so bizarre.
And also Beerus just like is in love with Broly's friend. I don't remember her name.
Yeah.
But and it's not like uncharacteristically of Dragon Ball. It's not a very creepy affection, you know? It's just like he looks at her and he's like, I like her.
Right, you know? Right. Yeah, and then he's like, Whis is like, of course Lord Beerus has a type. I'm surprised nobody ever noticed. Apparently it's green women with white hair. I don't know exactly what that type is, but we thought he was only interested in food, but of course that's not the case. Yeah, Piccolo. Piccolo's whole journey on this film, Kyle. What stood out to you?
I loved him sneaking into Red Ribbon Army.
Yes.
Like that's again not a very Dragon Ball thing to do because they're so strong. Why would they ever waste time being sneaky when they could literally blow up the facility with energy blast? But like Piccolo beating up a guy at Hitman style and taking his clothes and sneaking in to like listen in on meetings and just trying to hide his green face and then awkwardly he holds a cell phone weird because he's just a weirdo.
Right.
Like he doesn't understand how to use the cell phone and he's like trying to call Bulma to like keep her up to date on what's going on. All that stuff, so great. Like I just loved him sneaking back and forth and like working with Pan. He's like, all right, you're gonna pretend to be kidnapped.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put these handcuffs on you. Don't worry, you're strong enough. You can get rid of those handcuffs. I need you to pretend to be really scared. Like all that stuff, all the sort of sneaking around. It just delightful. I love it.
Yeah, and giving like Piccolo like comedic moments of like at a certain point when he's driving that ship, and I think it's Pan, is it? That's like, Piccolo, you kind of stink at driving. He's like, sorry, I actually never got my license. Just like very fun cuts.
And when he like lands in the garage, he like clips the side of the wing.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Or just, I love too when he goes, he's like, all right, I guess I gotta go get some sensu beans. And he goes and talks to Korin. And they're like, okay, here you go, Kami. He's like, I'm not Kami. But just like the fact that they're like leaning in so many times to like, Piccolo's past is so confusing of who he is, how many times he's been upgraded and how. It's just like them leaning into, he is a messy character lore-wise at this point. And this movie kind of embraces it. And then he, of course, summons Shenron, which I love this detail of like Bulma's just been sitting on the Dragon Balls, but like she now has people scouring the globe at all points just to make sure nobody can have them. So
I like that even beyond it as a joke. Like I like the idea of Bulma just has a team that's just always on the hunt for Dragon Balls just to make sure they don't fall into the wrong hands, and then also so she can make her sort of inconsequential wishes occasionally. It's easier than shopping, I think was her joke.
It's absurd. Yeah. So the idea is, okay, we need to summon Shenron because now Shenron can give 3 wishes instead of just 1. And so, all right, Piccolo just wants his power to be unlocked because Dende can't do it because only old Namekians can apparently unlock your power. And by the way, if you've never watched a second of Dragon Ball in your life and you're watching this or listening to this, may God have mercy on your soul because there's a lot of words going around it. And now I understand why it's tough to get into. But the idea is like, okay, so Piccolo can ask Shenron to unlock his power. And even makes some reference to Bulma that's like, well, I know you could just wish to get rid of Red Ribbon Army, but there's no sport in that, so we won't do that. And then it's like, oh, we have 2 wishes left over. And Piccolo's like, I don't care, whatever. And then Bulma's like, all right, I'll frickin' take them, which is like my favorite Dragon Ball again, just like everyone being so casual. Oh, also, let me tell you another thing I loved. Nothing makes me laugh more than Shenron being summoned and being casual. Like, you know, in the last couple movies, like Shenron being scared of like Beerus the Destroyer and stuff is so fun. And in this movie, he's like, who has summoned me? Oh, it's you, Piccolo. He just like immediately undercuts it. But then, of course, Bulma, Kyle, she wishes for
a tighter butt and to get rid of wrinkles in her face.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Oh, and then I think it's like to extend her lashes. I think she talks about wrinkles.
By 2 millimeters, I think, right?
Right.
And then Piccolo's reaction to that is very funny. Of just like, what are you doing? What are we doing here?
And then afterwards, like, oh, we could have wished for Goku and Vegeta to come back, I guess. It's like, oh, damn, well, I guess she has a new butt. Do you think that actually...
I do also, in that moment, Piccolo sort of realizing he made a mistake, right, is very funny, too, because he's so... You know, he knows what's going on. He's the most level-headed of basically everybody, right? Always, all the time. And to see him sort of be like, oh, oops, I should have done that is pretty good.
Do you think they actually updated like the model for Bulma to change her butt, even though she's wearing, you know, yellow jumpsuit or whatever the hell?
I don't know.
I don't think so. You think her butt's going to be exactly the same? I bet they made a slight animation tweak. And I'm wondering if this is breaking the continuity now. Because maybe in GT, in the end of the final episode of Dragon Ball Z, maybe we see her butt and it doesn't look 10% better.
Yeah, it's going to diminish my appreciation of the show.
This show's a freaking cartoon. This is a joke show, man. I thought it was interesting how much they changed Goten and Trunks. Like Goten in particular when they showed up. And there's even some reference for like, oh, they hit a growth spurt or whatever. But like
Saiyans hit a growth spurt.
Yeah, but like Goten's hair looks all shaggy. It looks so weird, but it's still fun to see them in this new era.
Yeah, and then they do the dance. That what's it called?
Fusion dance.
Right?
That's transferring. Yeah.
And they mess it up, so they're like the fat version. But and I was like, I kind of wanted to see the new version of Goku.
I did too, right? Yeah.
And then they tease it at the end. They do the dance as the camera pans by, and you don't get to see it. And I was like, come on.
Camera pans by in multiple ways, Kyle.
Because of Pan? Is that the pun you're going for? The character?
That's the joke. Hang on, it's important
that's the joke.
When you're podcasting, it's important to hold so that everybody can laugh at home. Okay, thank you.
Or they just hit the 15 seconds forward.
Yeah, we know we're going to get another joke. What do you think about the whole storyline of Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 and them being tricked into believing and that they were fighting for justice and all that fun stuff?
It was a little thin, I feel like, because I feel like it was... I liked it. I like them drawing a line at kidnapping children.
Yeah.
And kind of being like, wait a second, are we the bad guys? Like, that's fun. But, like, from the beginning, Hedo just seemed pretty evil. Like, his introduction is, like, blowing up a prison with a grenade. Like, I never really thought... I mean, he likes superheroes, but I never really fully bought that he was, like, secretly a good guy. That being said, it's Dragon Ball tradition to have the villains sort of come around to the side of the good guys with a few exceptions, like Frieza and Cell. And I like that. Like, I'm always okay with them being part of the team and expanding the roster of characters that I like. But yes, I never really bought him as a secret good guy, really, ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's the weakest part, I'm in it for the jokes and some cool moments and some cool action, but like, oh, look how strong they are. And, it is silly how everybody has to be at the same power level at all times, even if it's astronomical now. It's like, okay, sure. Now androids can be as strong as, I don't know. Who knows exactly how these people compare to where Goku and Vegeta are at, I guess. Well, I guess Gohan's a good barometer for that. But anyways, yeah, but I did kind of like that idea of they thought they were fighting for justice, and it's about misinformation, man. If you think about it, it's about like modern society.
Fake news.
They were like, Dr. Hedo was like Q. Or I guess Magenta was like Q. Look, we don't have to go down this rabbit hole, but there's something there. There's something there. And I liked how big Cellmax was. Like, least memorable villain in a long time, but I like that he's just some big guy, and it's like, hey, his head's his weak point, go.
Yeah. I did like that he was just a complete just animal, right? Like, because we'd spent so much time learning about Hedo and the androids, and those are the bad guys, and they have personalities that like. And Cellmax comes very late. Like, he's teased early, and then he becomes the ultimate final threat, which is fun. And like, I like that he was animalistic, because I don't think I would have had the patience for a sort of thoughtful Cell that was like, explaining why he was doing what he was doing.
Oh, you fools! Like classic Cell stuff.
Give me Godzilla for them to fight, and I think that was the right call.
Yeah, for sure.
Real quick before we dive into that final fight, there's one joke I really loved where Bulma brings Trunks and Android 18 and all of them to the fight, and she says, I probably don't have the exact line, but she says, "I brought the world's strongest fighters and Krillin."
Yeah. And then Krillin's like, oh, because he's a cop now, and he's like, oh, all the boys at the station think I'm tough. Like, yeah, Krillin. He did have like the best shot though. I love it when he finally got into the fight and he jumped out and flew, and like the camera flies with him as he's going around, and then he gets to throw Destructo Disc immediately into. It's like he's doing his cool moves. I enjoyed him having a little bit of a moment. Also,
it's very stupid, but I definitely, Leonardo DiCaprio meme pointed at the screen. I was like, Destructo Disc. Like, there it is. That's Krillin. He's in it.
And plus, I kind of feel it because it's like, man, Cellmax could destroy him if he just touched him. So the fact that like him and Android 18 are actually fighting, it's kind of cool that they're willing to still throw themselves in there. Also, I thought it was interesting at the end when Gamma 1, I guess, is the one that survives. When he's like, oh, I guess I got to turn myself into the cops. And Krillin, who is a cop's like, you don't want to do that, actually. Don't bother. It's like, all right, I don't know what kind of cop Krillin is at this point, but sure.
He just deals with bank robbers like exclusively. He's not worried about,
because he really wants to look strong. Also that scene with Krillin where it's Pan and she's trying to get away from, is it Exploding Cell, I think? And it reminded me of like the one of the greatest scenes, if not the greatest scene in The Incredibles, of like screaming at Violet to use her powers on the plane. Like, but I love it where he's screaming at Pan. He's like, "You have to fly, Pan! You have to fly!" And she's like running. It's like, oh, that's such a cool moment to give to Krillin of him trying to scream at Pan how she can't die.
Way to not die. That's like one of my favorite Krillin quotes from the Frieza saga.
The Gohan stuff. I feel like it feels like a lifetime ago that I watched like that last saga with all the different universes fighting and stuff in Dragon Ball Super, but it's like I feel like we already had that arc of several times now of Gohan, he kind of got over fighting, he's kind of going back to studying, but now he has to ramp up and prove once more that he's the ultimate form. And I feel like we already got that towards the end of Super, so it's weird for them to hit that beat one more time of like, no, seriously, Gohan rules, he just has to focus. But that, you need some arc for the movie, so sure.
Yeah. Also, in his new mode, was that new?
Yeah, well,
I actually haven't finished Super. I'm like,
wait, are you serious? Like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, like I am probably. I mean, my wife and I watch it together. We probably have like, I don't know, 15 episodes left or something like that.
Man,
like we just we fell off, and to keep me, and every couple of weeks we'll be like, oh, we should finish Dragon Ball. But does he do that in Super, or that's totally new for the movie? No,
so he goes into he taps into, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but it's his old Mystic Gohan thing from the Buu saga, and then he might elevate that in some way, and that's kind of the mode that he gets to in this, because it's interesting, I think in the Tournament of Power, the idea was he didn't go Super Saiyan. He's like, well, I don't need Super Saiyan, I have my Ultimate Gohan form, or Mystic Gohan, however you want to call it. So it's weird in this movie when he immediately pops into Super Saiyan. I'm like, what happened to his other form that he's he should be using now. But no, this him actually transforming. As far as I remember, yeah, I think that's completely new for this film. Then of him having
his hair gets longer and silver or white.
Right, it looks like Baby, of course, from GT, everybody's favorite.
Jeez, right, yeah, okay.
And then he gets like the red eyes, and so it's like, okay, I don't know, I didn't need it personally, but sure. So we got
there's a pretty flashy, abstract, sort of crazy finale for him to use that power against Cell Max. Like, Cell Max makes a spirit bomb, for lack of a better term, that's like the size of the earth that he compresses down and throws at Gohan, and then Gohan uses Piccolo's final move to finally defeat Cell Max, which is fun. Piccolo is Gohan's dad at this point.
Absolutely.
He's the grandpa for Pan that's around when Goku's off doing his own thing.
And the fact that we think that and the movie is fully aware of it, like that's the beauty of Dragon Ball this era. And and I love it. Even Piccolo's like, how'd you learn to do the special beam cannon? He's like, I've been practicing on the side. It's kind of a sweet little moment. And then, we didn't really fully dive into it, but I guess Piccolo has his new form, which he made it very clear he doesn't care about naming, but I guess if he has to name it, I guess he'll call it Orange Piccolo, which is the worst name in the world. It's as bad as, what was it? Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan. Remember, they changed the wording on that, but
Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, right?
I think so, but then it was the blue. Anyways, but yeah, what do you think about big, beefy, orangish Piccolo?
Aesthetically, I don't really like it, but I do like that it exists. I like Piccolo is way overdue for some kind of like new form. I wish it had been more. I wish he had like really changed. I don't know, add some extra antennas or something, but I'm glad that he has his Super Saiyan equivalent at this point. That's fun.
Yeah. It's always been that weird game of like, how do you keep trying to bring Piccolo up to where everybody else is lore wise? And sure, here's another one. It's interesting that Shenron could unlock this. I think that's a fun angle. What a lovely movie. I think it was summed up beautifully in the end, when Goku and Vegeta are fighting. And then I think it's Beerus's new love interest. She's like, what are you doing? She's like, men, you're all morons. And then it cuts to Broly, and he's like watching the beauty of Goku and Vegeta fight. And he's crying. It's like, yes, that is Dragon Ball fandom perfectly encapsulated. Yeah.
Also, I mean, worth calling out, Vegeta won the fight against Goku, which is like, give it to him, man. He deserves it.
There's no way that fight would actually end that way. That's not my canon. Like that idea of like they're both just like, bleh. It's like, how great would that fight have been to get to them to that point, But
yeah, I really, like we talked about at the beginning, like really loved it. Yeah. Love that it's a Piccolo movie.
Yep.
Didn't mind Vegeta and Goku being sidelined. Would have frankly been happy with them being even more sidelined. Like I think they got more screen time than they even needed.
Yeah.
But really liked it. Really liked it a lot.
Yeah, if the next movie was just about Pan, I would be on board for it at this point. Just like any new story they could tell. And I was trying to do that math of like, oh, it's weird because remember how strong Goten was when he was so little? And I was trying to do that math of like, where's Pan at versus the first time we saw Goten? And I guess Pan's like 3, Goten is probably like 6 or 7. I don't know. But I'm trying to do that math of like, oh, is because Pan is 1/4 Saiyan, does that make her weaker inherently? Because the whole idea was like, because I think they acknowledge that like, oh, half Saiyan, half human. That's why Trunks and Goten were so strong so quick, because that's like a more lethal fusion or something, or combination of genes.
Like they went Super Saiyan like really early,
right?
Like before they could even learn to fly. I think, right?
Yeah, it was something crazy like that. Yeah. Good call. So it's confusing. 1/4 might be entirely different though.
Yeah.
There it is, everybody. We hope you enjoyed Dragon Ball Superhero. Leave a comment below for everything that we got wrong or got extremely right, and give us your ranking of the 4 films as well. I'd be happy with this. Like I enjoyed the show, but it felt a little redundant just taking the movies and kind of turning them back into sagas, and Tournament of Power went on for so damn long. But I'd be happy with a new Dragon Ball Super movie every 4 years. Like that seems perfect.
Yeah, focus on other characters too. I think this is a proof of concept of like it can be about anybody. Like let's see a Bulma movie. Like just all about Bulma and like what her day to day at Capsule Corp. I don't know. I'd love to watch that.
Yeah, that's true. Focus an entire film on how lame it is that Gohan could not just grab a sensu bean from Piccolo. He could not even pull off that basic task. Just really focusing.
He didn't have his glasses, dude. You don't know what it's like, man. Come on.
That is true. I guess I don't know what it's like. Well, do I know what it's like? Because I can wear other people's glasses and then it hurts my eyes. Is that what it looks like for you?
Yeah. Well, how about I throw something the size of your thumbnail at you while you're wearing my glasses? We'll see how that goes.
Great. By the way, I really like that visual too of giant Piccolo trying to find the little sensu bean. Oh, it's hard to find when it's so small. Handing it to God.
Also, I'm orange.
Please buy my toys. All right, there it is, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for supporting MinMax, spreading the word, all that fun stuff. We appreciate it, and you can help support us, and maybe we'll make more Dragon Ball content in the future. All right, thanks so much, folks. Bye.
Wait. Oh, before that, I gotta plug my review at GameSpot. Go read my review at GameSpot.com. Please.
Was it fun to write a review for a movie?
Yeah, I did it a few times at Game Informer. You can go find my Brawly review.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. I went back. You actually, I'm trying to remember what happened and why this is the case. But there was like a Broly spoiler cast back at Game Informer, and it's you and Surreal and JV. Because I went back to try and find it because I was like, I want to see what I thought of Broly and how I talked about that. And I went to it and I was like, why am I not on this? I'm offended that I was not on this in the past.
Yeah, it was some hang up. You were not in the office and you didn't have a screener access or something. I don't know. I don't remember what it was. But
but that wasn't okay, Kyle. That wasn't okay that you recorded that without me because I want my thoughts on Broly preserved.
Sorry.
All right. We'll see you next time, everybody. Goodbye. Did you know that you can more than double the amount of podcasts from MinMax every single week by supporting us at the $5 tier on Patreon? You don't have to listen through the browser or anything dumb like that. You'll get access to a private RSS feed if you support us on Patreon. You put it in your favorite podcast app, and then bam, you can listen to our weekly bonus podcast Party Chat, the podcast versions of The Deepest Dives, MinMax interviews, Max spoilers, and you get the MinMax Show podcast a day earlier than everybody else. So please help support independent games media. Head over to patreon.com/MinMax with 2 N's.